will have revenge. The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. Now you will experience the full power of the dark side.
Welcome, followers of the Dark Side of the Light. I'm your host, John, the real JP3, and I'm joined as always by my good friend and fellow co-host, who is a master of the dark side, expert on the occult, and obtainer of rare antiquities and holograms. Please welcome Dr. Wilson, Dave.
Well, episode 124 of Balance of the Force podcast. Those of you guys that are tuning in for the first time, hey, hi, welcome. This evening, we're talking about Mandalorian, The Reckoning. Episode 7. We just both saw it. It's later in the evening. It is the eve before we get to see Rise of Skywalker. And yeah, this episode was beast. Mandalorian, awesome. Got a little sneak peek trailer. Did you get to see that in the episode?
No.
You have to click like the extras and then see the trailer. It wasn't anything crazy. We're gonna see the movie tomorrow. We're fine.
Alright.
Anyway, John, how are you feeling after this episode?
I'm upset. I don't want to watch it anymore. I'm stopping with one episode left. I'm done. No more.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get into some big time spoilers, some good discussion about everyone's favorite Mandalorian. But as you can see, my co-host is rather upset. For being a light side user, I feel he's going to get very dark in this episode, so let's just kick it off.
There'd be a lot of spoilers. A lot of spoilers.
Yes, a lot of spoilers. Deborah Chow directed this episode. She has previously directed one episode of The Mandalorian, which was episode number 3, which everybody up until this point has been hailing as the best episode due to the end Mandalorian siege, if you will, against the guild members. What did you think of this one?
So, I really enjoyed the episode, and I was watching it, and I was like, okay, all right, I like this.
I was about to say, you were sending me happy text messages while watching it.
I was like, this is good. Because then at this point, like, Dave watched it earlier, and this wasn't a spoiler for me, or he had seen it, or there was a picture, and he was like, I told you that Giancarlo Esposito was going to come out in this episode. You never listened to me if I had feelings, and I was like, yeah, whatever. And so then at that point, like, I had seen a character, and I was like, I told you he was coming back. And then I was like, crap, you told me this other guy was coming back, and I said he wasn't going to come back. And then it was just like a back and forth. But it was an impactful, filled episode with a lot of resurfacing of characters, as well as just overall, like, a lot of learnings about people, which we're going to get into, obviously, as well as just kind of how everything's been going. But I don't know. I was like, this is so good. David's like, this is like the best episode I've ever seen. Like, it's the top one for me. And I was like, watching it. I was like, yes. And then I got to the end and I was like, nope, number 1. No, that's not number 1. I rated it a 1. A 1. It's in my book already.
All right, let's be mature here.
A 1.
This episode was awesome. You know, we're going to get into spoilers, so if you don't want spoilers, stop now, watch the episode, come back and listen. It's been a busy week for Star Wars, and this is a great way to lead into Rise of Skywalker. For me, I'm going to go ahead and rank this, I think a 9.5. So this is going to be my highest episode to date thus far, which my second highest episode was episode 3, again, directed by Deborah Chow. Beastly episode, loved it from start to finish. I didn't find myself rolling my eyes at any point. I was captivated. I love the fact in any old Western or even modern day movie when your main character has to gather up a posse. I love a good posse. everybody that is a fan of westerns, and I'm going to use this one. It's more of a contemporary western, but fun. Young Guns. How awesome is it when they're getting the crew together? You know what I mean? When they're getting ready to go regulate. That's the vibe that I got when Mandalorian says to himself, "Okay, I'm going back, but I'm not going alone. I'm going in heavy." First person. Well, you know what? I'm going to slow down. I'm sorry, John. What is your real rank for this episode? What is your real rank? You can't rank it a 1. That is ridiculous. Just because you got feelings that the Ugnaught died.
You just spoiled it for everybody.
I already gave them.
No.
I gave them warning.
No.
So what's your true rating for this episode? Let's put childish, petty Jedi emotions aside. Let's go ahead and go with your true.
Even if I had to give it a true real rating,
yeah, let's give it a real rating.
I would still only give it a 5 or 6.
Why is it a 5 or 6?
Because I'm hung up on that. Like,
what happened, John? The Code of the Jedi. There's no emotion. There's peace. What happened to that?
Oh, that's lies. It's lies. They just tell you that stuff so you can get into the academy, and then when you're there, it's lies. Nobody follows that. Nobody pays attention. That's why Qui-Gon Jinn's friend that I can't remember from that book, Master and Apprentice, that was
Count Dooku?
Oh, yeah, no, the guy who was protecting the princess. Is it Rayo?
I think so, yeah.
That's why Rayo lives. Yeah, that's why he lives his life the way he. And I'm very proud of myself because that's the name I had in my head as soon as I brought it up, but I didn't want to say it and be wrong. But yeah, that's why he lives his life the way he does. I just. You
can't rate it because a character you like died. You can't rate it poorly because
it's not the fact that this is an emotional thing for me right now.
Obviously.
I'm admitting this. The power of the dark side is taking over.
There is no emotion, there's peace.
There's no what is the Sith one? There's always emotion, there's always anger, kill somebody, stab them, whatever.
Close enough. Come on, use your words. Let's talk about it. Let's get weird. Come on. First of all, you know what? I'm
gonna give it a 7. A true, honest 7. Me thinking through everything else, but what I can't get out of my mind what happened at the end of it. Like it was a good episode. I like the way that it played out. It really had me hooked, but it's one of those things that, and I don't need it to be a happy ending. And I know, Dave, you're always about happy endings. You're up on Disney.
You're sad that a character died, and it's not a happy ending, so you're rating it poorly.
No, because a happy ending would be is that he either didn't die or he died, but the baby was still safe and it wasn't in the harms of the enemy. Like, that would be a happy ending, and that they got out of the cantina alive.
You don't like it because this is not a happy ending.
No. Because it's not the point that it's not because it's a happy ending. I think there's so much more this character could bring.
That could be said with all characters that perish, John.
I don't need IG-11. He didn't need to be here anymore. He should have stayed dead.
You're just lashing out. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed to talk and give my thoughts on the episode. Feel free to chime in.
Are you going to talk rationally? Is that what you told me?
Feel free to chime in whenever you get your wits about you and you're one with the Force and the Force is with you. Okay? When you get to that point, then let's chime in. We'll tag you in at that point. Again, sorry, I apologize. First time listeners, John gets emotional. He's on the soapbox. You know how it is. Anyways, the fact that the Mando's gathering a posse, it's awesome. Gina Carano, a beast. That scene where she's in this small little sleepy backwater planet and she's earning credits however she can, using her brute strength. It was pretty awesome. We've never seen a fight quite like that where the two combatants are, attached together with a electrical lightning cable leash thing. Thought it was pretty cool. Gina,
I did too.
Gina Carano.
I like that.
She got to use her athleticism, which obviously she was an MMA fighter before. She did some MMA moves on some random Dathomirian dude, put him down. All I kept thinking to myself was, I'll let Gina Carano kick my ass. I'll be alright with it. Okay, I'll take my licks. I'll move, fight another day. I think she even like made a taunting comment to the guys, like, "Hey, you want another round?" or something like that. After he paid up. Good, good, good scene. Good fight. Glad they brought her back. We had the feeling she wasn't gone completely, but the way they left it the last time you saw her, it's like, y'all just started becoming friends. What's going on?
Well, and the other thing that I always go back to, and I look at how much like people appear in like publicity and things like that, and for like Gina Carano has been touring or like doing a lot of interviews, doing a lot of appearances with Pedro Pascal, Jon Favreau, and like it's her, Carl Weathers, and Pedro Pascal that have been like the forefront of the people touring and being seen from The Mandalorian.
See, that's
So
why Nick Nolte died. He wasn't on the road.
those three characters, in my opinion, you're going to continue to see a lot of them, regardless of the fact of what happens. But I think those three for sure you're going to continue to see more of.
I agree. The fact that I'm surprised he didn't bring the chick that knew how to use the blaster very proficiently from that village.
Well, so I also thought he was going to go back. So, mind you, okay, so he's gathering a posse.
Gotta love a posse.
The baby, he has the Razor Crest on autopilot. He leaves Baby Yoda up in the cockpit, and him and Gina Carano start looking through like weapons and stuff, and the ship light goes crazy, and the baby's like, like a little kid, and like just cooing like a cute little thing. And she was like, we need somebody to watch this kid. Who was the first person or first species that you thought of that he was like, I have somebody in mind to watch the kid while they went off?
The only person other than Nick Nolte's character, which would have been the dock worker from Tatooine.
Okay, I thought the same thing. That's the first thing I went to. I was like, he's gonna go to Tatooine and get that dock worker to watch the baby.
So, real quick before we go any further, when, like you mentioned, the Razor Crest on autopilot, and the child goes ape shit. What did you think about that scene? Because I have my interpretation and my thought of what I thought was going down. I want to hear yours.
I immediately thought the child was, because you see him like peek his head down and look, and then you see him go disappear, and the ship does something. I immediately knew it was the child that had done.
Well,
something.
yeah, no, I'm not saying that, but what was the kid's motivation, if any, or do you think it was just random?
I think it's just random. I didn't think that far into it.
I think
I was like,
I think the kid was like, no, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. This is their thought. This is their plan. No, I don't want them to take me back.
That's far fetched. I think it's far fetched because you brought that up. I'm going to drop it to -1 now. Way to go, Dave.
You don't think the child has reasonable thought?
I think the child has reasonable thoughts, and I think the child has his own opinion and is way older than we think.
Well,
it just acts like a kid.
It's 50 years old. That's common knowledge, but
I think it just has more insight and more common sense than we think at this point. But I could see that with the child being like, no, I don't want to go back. But I don't. I'm trying to think like has there been any other scene or any other episode where there's been something similar, where the child has done something to be like, yeah, this isn't.
The kid is very aware when people are injured. We obviously saw this in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
The kid has a new force power that we've never seen before. Being able to heal. The kid knows, obviously, you're hurt. Okay, I'm going to go try and heal you. Try to do the same thing to the Mandalorian. The kid knew the Mudhorn was going to kill the Mandalorian in the second episode. Stopped the Mudhorn in midair. And then force choking Gina Carano.
Yeah, because he thought that Gina Carano was hurting the Mandalorian because of an arm wrestling contest. At first I was like, oh man, he's going to cheat and help him win. And then when she started grabbing her throat, I was like, And like, did you see like you can't see the Mando's like expression, but like he looked and he was like, and then he looks at the kid and he's like, "Holy crap! Stop! No, 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 no!" Like
Pretty
I
much,
thought that was
yeah.
like that was crazy that he's like looking at the kid like, "Wait, what the hell are you doing? Stop! No, he wasn't hurting me." And then, so did you also? Okay, well I guess we've already brought it up. IG-11 comes back. Um, Nick Nolte's character, the Ugnaught, finds him.
So you don't think the
Uh,
kid knew what he was doing?
I think the kid knew what he was doing.
So do you think what I posed is plausible, or do you think it's far fetched that the
I
kid
think it's
was
I
trying to
think
get out of Dodge?
I think it's plausible, but I think that was the case here. No.
Okay.
So anyway, Nick Nolte's character, after the Mandalorian leaves, finds IG-11, not 88, excuse me, in the wake of the Mandalorian, takes him back, reprograms the droid as like I guess it's not a servant droid, but basically it
Oh, just
protects him.
reprograms him and starts him
Um,
from scratch.
has to teach him how to do basic things, how to have a thought process like, hey, don't put a box on top of this creature and kill it. Hey, don't break the bottle. Um, but during that same scene where the child chokes Gina Carano because she thinks the Mandalorian's in danger, Gina Carano also spit back at Nick Nolte's character. And did you see IG-11 walk up
Oh
and be
yeah, he
like,
was ready to go.
yeah.
And
And so I
that
was like,
just leaves more credence to what he said is he's not a hunter anymore, but he's a bodyguard. He'll protect.
so he's loyal to Nick Nolte's character, obviously. So that's why that gives me some hope. That gives me some hope because IG-11 is on the ship. Gives me some hope.
Oh, IG-11 is gonna go apeshit. I'm telling you right now. I'm calling for episode 8. IG-11 is going to crash the party, save the day. Episode 8. I haven't even seen it yet. I haven't talked to Fab. I haven't talked to Filoni. This is what I feel in my bones. Um, that he's gonna go out. He's gonna see the blast marks on little Nick Nolte's Ugnaught and go back, and he's gonna cause some havoc when we least expect it. The one thing that I I kept trying to ignore it. I kept trying not to be bothered by it. But the dialogue and Nick Nolte's mouth doesn't match up. It bothers the crap out of me. And they try and not show him actually talking and putting the camera really close on his face while he's talking. But it bothers me. I don't know. I can't look away when he's on screen. No? Didn't pick up on it?
That's why he gave it a 9.5 gaze.
Because he died.
I did catch that, and I don't care. Like if it was to my point, I can usually notice when the words are way off from the mouth moving, and I will like it does bother me, but it did not. I did not notice it.
Well, this is not the first time
episode.
it's done it. It's done in every episode that he's in. It just
And
doesn't sync up properly.
I have not noticed it to the extent that would bother me. It bothers me when it's extremely noticeable. It's extremely noticeable to you, Dave, because that's the type of person you are.
Okay.
And movies, TV shows, music are very important to you.
It also like comes back because I used to watch those old school Japanese Godzilla flicks, and they're like, oh, and it just says yes.
You need to make sure you sync up the words with your mouth when you
Well, they
do this video.
They didn't do that in the old school Japanese Godzilla movies. They're like, oh my god, blah 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 blah, and it says, look, he's coming right now. Be careful. It's great. I love those movies. Yeah. So gathering a posse, Nick Nolte, IG-11. He's got a solid crew.
I think it's pretty solid.
That they land on the planet right in front of Carl Weathers and his little posse. How awesome and badass did it look when they came out on the blurbs?
I thought it was pretty cool. I also thought it was pretty cool that when they got off, Carl Weathers was like, I think introductions are in order. Oh, you brought a security team as well. And the Mandalorian says absolutely nothing.
Why
and I feel like the blurbs were literally a sign of like they have the upper hand because they're higher off the ground. They have something that moves a little bit faster. It's an impression of
Control.
dominance. It's exerting control, but it's exerting dominance, saying like, you don't own this situation, even though you feel you do, and you're going to do some stuff for me, like forgiving me and, clearing my name from the guild and everything. But at the end of the day, I'm running the show. And that's what I took from it when I saw them walk down the blurbs.
See, I took it as Nick Nolte doesn't move as fast. Ugnaughts aren't that fast, so in order to keep up with everybody else, he rides a blurb to maintain that same semblance of equality.
I don't know, the blurb doesn't seem like it moves so fast.
Well, just because he got mowed down didn't mean anything, John.
Okay. I'm changing my thinking
game. What did you think of seeing, oh my god, Werner Herzog again?
So I was like, all right.
Or first of all, what do you think of the Imperial Inquisition on that town?
So we had kind of been, this had been kind of not spoiled, but we were aware of this when we went to Celebration. We just didn't know what it was going to, like we saw a picture of all the stormtroopers because they're from the 501st Legion, because they didn't have enough costumes on set.
Which, how awesome was that for those guys to jump in there and be in that episode? Like, that's just awesome.
Dave Filoni called in a favor from the California
Legion.
Thank you. Let's say battalion. But called in a favor. They showed up. They got to use these awesome costumes that they build themselves, and they were like extras. And it's like, what if you were the guy? And I wonder if it was like just a normal person, like the stormtrooper that's like, belt code, please. Like, how cool is that? You could say, I was in that episode of The Mandalorian and I got to say belt code. What's your belt code, please? And then like everybody else just looked at him, and it's one of those things that it's like, you get to see how those scenes played out and not really realize how it's going to play together in the grand scheme of things. I have to wait. Like, that would have killed me. But that is awesome that they had, like, that Dave was able to phone that in. But the Imperial Imposition, I knew because of the picture you sent me, as well as the picture that we saw at Celebration, where Gina was like, "There's only 4? There's only 4." I'm like, baby girl. Baby girl. He is telling you there's only 4 because he knows you won't go if he tells us more.
Yeah, exactly. So what? Let's backtrack a couple steps, because I know somebody right now is yelling into their car stereo. We missed the healing part. We didn't miss the healing part. We're coming back to it. What'd you think of Baby Yoda just doing his healing thing? I love the fact that he's lying there, cut open, Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed, and he's like, he's trying to eat me. I loved it. Perfect little like segue to comic relief, and just it didn't feel forced, and I died laughing. It brought a lot of levity to that situation.
So as soon as I saw they cut to the child walking, I was like, he's going to help Carl Weathers. Like, I knew it was obvious because of what we saw him try to do to the Mandalorian before. But it also, now that like I think about it and you bring it up again, like he makes a comment about, oh, he's a carnivore. And then he's like, he's trying to eat me. Like, I felt like those 2 lines were put in there on purpose just for that. Yeah. But it was super funny to sit there and hear him say like, he's gonna eat me. Also comes from, or he's trying to eat me. I kind of think of like Timon and Pumbaa from The Lion King when he's like trying to run from the hyenas at Pride Rock at the end of the movie. Just saying. Nice nod, Fab. Nice
sure. Because that's exactly what I thought also.
Well, you're not a Disney person.
I'm a Disney Plus person.
Anyway, so the healing, knew it was going to happen, thought it was a really cool scene. Although I do believe, well, no, you tell your part, and then when we get to that scene, I'll talk about it.
I was just going to say, I thought it was pretty cool how he healed Greg Karga in that scene. You know, they're out of med packs. He was going to die. That would have really changed the game, changed the way that plot, their idea would have, came about. So I'm just, I don't know how I feel about this new force power. Did Yoda have this ability? Did others have this ability of his race? Or is this just something that this one young kid is proficient in?
So I thought the same thing, because I was like, I don't recall seeing this type of power from any other Jedi, and I don't remember seeing this type of power from Yoda. So I thought the exact same thing, and it makes you more curious as to why. And why does this individual, I kind of see why everybody, like why the Imperial wants him, or, the Empire, well, the Imperials want him, or the Grand Moff wants him, but it's also like, I don't remember seeing that anywhere else in Star Wars canon material. But then it also makes you believe is like, how does this child play into the grander scheme of things that we know is out there? The Mandalorian is set between episode 6 and 7. It's about 9 years after, I think, Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, how does this child play into the grand scheme of things? Because you and I know we have not seen him in The Force Awakens. We have not seen him in The Last Jedi. We could potentially see him in The Rise of Skywalker tomorrow. We don't know. But in reality, like, where does the child play into the grand scheme of the Star Wars universe?
That is a big question, and I don't know. It's going to change the landscape for sure, especially if this kid pops up in Rise of Skywalker tomorrow. I don't know how I'm going to feel about that.
I don't think so. Here's the caveat. I just thought about this before you started talking. My bad. Me, sorry. I don't think it'll pop up in the Rise of Skywalker, and here's why. Because when we left this episode, the kid was in the hands of the stormtroopers. So that would basically, if we saw him in the Rise of Skywalker, would seal the deal, as we know that he survives. And to me, that's a pretty big reveal for JJ as well as for Jon Favreau, who has the second season already greenlit. But you're going to reveal that far that the child survives, and we know he survives through episode 9.
Yeah.
Just something I thought about.
Yeah, I don't think it's likely. I don't think it's plausible. I think the only reason they moved up the episode to Wednesday is, hey, let's have the fans chew on this fat for a little bit before they watch Rise of Skywalker. I think that's all it was. It was just a play to go ahead and move it out of the fray of Friday, so people can't say, oh, I can't go watch Rise of Skywalker because I got to see The Mandalorian. No, they took that out of the equation for you. Watch Mandalorian Wednesday, the day it airs, Thursday, and then you have all weekend to enjoy Rise of Skywalker. Multiple viewings. Thoughts?
I know, I 100% agree. They said in opening weekend, The Rise of Skywalker should do about $200 million. I think that's domestically. So I can only imagine what it would do internationally. So we'll have to wait.
Which, speaking of that, taking a quick 30-second detour, I've heard nothing but acclaim from this. The early reviews. I haven't read anything yet. I've tried to stay away from spoilers. I haven't been tainted as of yet, but everything that I'm hearing is fairly positive, which is a good sign. They're saying it's epic in scale, and the last half of the movie, you're just sobbing the entire time for one reason or another.
I have not read. I have not stopped scrolling. I have not listened to a single person. I have not done anything. The most I've heard about it is what you just told me right now.
Okay.
I'm truly trying to
No, I don't blame
like he sends me stuff and like I post it. I'm like, okay, it's Mandalorian. I can post it. Oh no, okay, I can read it. And I'm not get on there. And like I scroll, like anything about Star Wars, I just scroll. I'm not reading anything that is from a Star Wars podcast that has the word Star Wars in it. Nothing. Not just because I know how news articles work because I read a lot of them to post a lot of them. What news articles do is they give you a title about something, and then they later on in the article they're like, "Oh, the Rise of Skywalker release," and blah blah blah, and they start talking about it. I'm just trying to do it. I got it.
Fair enough. Back to the
But
Mandalorian.
yeah, so we're at this point. They're heading to the city. We talked about the control of the city, and you get the two security officers that are left that were with Carl Weathers that are standing behind Gina Carano and the Mandalorian. And all of a sudden, Carl Weathers turns around and shoots both of those bounty hunters. And Gina Carano and the Mandalorian are like, what's going on? What's going on? And he said, the goal was that we were going to shoot you, take the child in, collect the bounty, blah, 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 blah. He said, but when I saw what the child did last night, I realized I couldn't do that. I couldn't go through with it. And so again, this comes back to what I was saying. I don't know. Like, we haven't seen this anywhere else, to my knowledge, in the Star Wars universe. So, and I feel like Carl Weathers' character has seen a lot in his time, a lot. And for him not to be able to see this, and then even the Ugnaught to be like, I've heard of this, but I've never seen the kind of power that he has.
Which they've still not directly said. It's the Force.
They have not. You're exactly right.
They have not said it. I'm sure they have an inclination, they have an idea, but they have not spoken it out loud, which I think it's powerful, it's meaningful. The fact that maybe they just don't know about the Force. They've heard of these mystical powers, but they don't know what it's called. And it segues beautifully into how excited Werner Herzog was when he saw that they brought the kid back, or he assumed they brought the kid back. And you got the double deal in there. Mandalorian's taking his cuffs off, like, hey man, pass me a piece, pass me a gun. Werner Herzog does his thing, very. The way he enunciates and all of his dialogue is just on point, if you ask me. And it seems like, the Empire's going to rule the day. Werner Herzog is doing his thing, and right away he gets a phone call from Moff Gideon.
First of all, let's go back to the fact of he's like, I want to see the child, and Carl Weathers' character's like, he's sleeping. He's like, we will all be quiet, and I'm like, what the, like, I thought it was very cheesy, but I was like, that's awesome. Like, this big guy who pays bounties and like hires people to kill people, and they're like, the baby's sleeping, and he's like, I'll be quiet, it's okay. And I'm like, holy shit, that's pretty cool. Excuse my language. I was like, that's pretty cool.
In my mind, he was just super excited to get the,
that's what I thought,
get the money back. You know what I mean? Essentially, the kid. I love how all of Werner Herzog's troops, all of his scout troopers, the two that we've seen, the stormtroopers, they've got dirty armor. We've talked about this.
Yeah, we have.
They've got dirty armor. They don't care much about their appearance anymore, from what we can tell. Obviously, hence the dirt. And when Moff Gideon gets on the scene, his crew looks clean. They are still living the ways of the true Empire. Clean, routine, self-care, all this other, like, everything else that you would think of being an Imperial. Order, precision, maybe not so much in shooting because they're stormtroopers, but that for Gideon and his crew, they're on point. When all of a sudden, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I say even his TIE fighter he arrives on is like spectacularly clean, looks amazing, immaculate. Like its ability to maneuver and how it lands. Like, I was like,
I've never seen a TIE fighter do that. Never seen a TIE fighter do that.
And then like, even his armor, his outfit, clean, pristine. I am still in command, and I still demand respect for what I fought for and what I stood for. And I'm like, nice. And I feel they couldn't have picked a better person, now that I've seen his character, to do that. Like, the way
Gustavo Fring, man,
the way he handled himself in Breaking Bad, and he did a lot of those where he was like very pristine, very direct, and very, like, played roles similar to this. I was like, you couldn't pick a better guy. This was good. Nice job. Nice job.
So what did you think when the blaster bolts started raining in through that window and taking out stormtroopers, taking out Werner Herzog's character? What did you think initially?
Well, so when he answered the phone call and he was like, this is a call I have to take, immediately I was like, okay, you are just a pawn in a bigger pool. Like,
Of course, he's a middle guy.
like, I was like, at first, like, at the beginning, he leads you on to believe that he's the one that's in charge. And then when he's like, excuse me, but I have to take this phone call, he's like, he was like, okay, and he gets up, and then he's like, oh, how are you, Moff Gideon? Blah, 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 and starts talking to him, and he's like, well, the child's asleep. He said, you better check again. And I was like, he knows! He knows they're lying. He knows the plan. Like, he knows everything. And even when everything happens, but the blaster bolt, and he was like, you need to check again. And doesn't, like, bat an eye. And then all of a sudden, blaster bolt. I assumed and I figured that it was coming from his troops. Didn't think it was going to come from I didn't think it was going to come from Black Stormtroopers.
Death Troopers.
Thank you. Didn't think it was going to come from them. But I was like...
So you didn't think it was IG-80, IG-11, the other Mandos, nothing like that?
No.
None of the guild members, you went straight to Gideon.
I went straight to Gideon as like... Because the way he acted and the way he kind of talked and the way he was like being very matter of fact and very factual, like, you need to check again. And then just the image is just there, and then you see him, like, the bastard bolt start, and he turns it off and just is like, I'll wait till this is done. So I was like, he had a part of it, but then at that point I immediately was like, he knows that the child is not there, and he knows it's somewhere else.
So, real quick before we get into the last part of the episode, do you feel that there's a Star Destroyer in orbit? Or some other Imperial ship?
I could see another Imperial ship. I don't see a Star Destroyer.
I feel there's a Star Destroyer. Oh
God, Star Destroyer 55 already. Come on.
What's wrong with the Star Destroyer? They're great.
I'm not saying that. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I am sorry. Yes. I believe a Star Destroyer. At first, I thought you said Death Star. That's why I said Death Star 55. Sorry. Yeah, that's what I meant. I thought you were saying Death Star. No, I believe there is a Star Destroyer in orbit.
Okay. So the question is it a Victory class or an Imperial? Do you know the difference? No, you don't.
One's bigger than the other.
Oh my God, John, which one's bigger? You're gonna make me so proud.
I believe the Victory class Star Destroyer is smaller.
High five, John boy. Even though you're not confident in your answer, the Victory class is smaller.
Well, because my gut was telling me that the Victory class was bigger, so I'm glad I didn't listen to my gut.
Your gut's a liar. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see an Imperial Star Destroyer in the Mandalorian. That would be pretty freaking awesome. Because I feel he was standing when he made that transmission to Werner Herzog's character.
I agree with you. I believe he was standing too, but he wasn't that far away.
No, so in my mind, he was in orbit and then came down. Just a thought. Either way, Death Troopers looking freaking sick. Do you remember when we saw those photos of Death Troopers on set? Like when the very beginning of The Mandalorian started getting going? Now we've seen them. Now we know what they're up to. Just that presence, that entrance that Moff Gideon came in on, I was totally jazzed. I was in.
I was impressed with the formation of the Death Troopers and how they stood, and I was like, damn, people gotta die. Like, they just, the presence they command, even before Moff Gideon came in, I was like, cool. Like
to me, guys, you see that it's unwavering strength and precision.
Yeah. You're done. Like, you better come up with like a plan 7, like D, E, and F. Like, you're A, B, and C done. Like, it just, the presence and their tactfulness, I just thought was amazing. The other thing is too, so first of all, they got there fairly quick too.
What's that? The Death Troopers?
Yeah, the Death Troopers. So, a couple of things that I would think, so first of all, I feel like the stormtroopers that were there were probably, well, they were there because of Moff Gideon, I believe. But I also
they
feel
were
that
all on. They knew what the plan was.
so they were either, so I feel the Death Troopers were already there, or they were in very close orbit, similar to Moff Gideon. And then as soon as they went inside, that's when they landed.
Yeah.
That's my thought. Because they weren't sitting down for more than a minute before he said, "Let me take this phone call," and then got shot, and then the blaster bolts started happening.
I'm sure the Death Troopers are already on the ground. They were already on the ground. They were already waiting. Once he saw, I'm sure they were doing a recon. They were watching them walk them in through town, all that other jazz. They got in position, told Gideon, "Hey, get ready to make the call. It's going down. This is our chance." You know what I mean? I was really interested, and I wish we would have got more dialogue from Werner Herzog when talking about, oh, like, look at this armor, look what it can do when it's forged by true Mandalorians, the craftsmanship. Why couldn't you guys just follow suit and join the Empire instead of being rebellious? Look what the Empire brings to all the systems, blah blah blah, the peace, the unity, the not conformity, but the overall structure and development. I thought that was great to actually hear that. And then him almost say, like, is it so much better now that the New Republic's here? Is it safer? Like, almost chastising him, you know what I mean?
Well, so when I heard that part, so what I thought when he made the comment about the armor is he was taking a shot at him for taking his Beskar, making a new armor with it. But the other thing I also...
No, because he knew he was going to, remember?
Well, yeah, but I'm saying I feel it was a shot, like, I got you armor, you got the Beskar armor, and then you came and took the bounty that I paid you for. That's what I took it as. Okay. But then when he started mentioning about, like, it's forged by a true, like, person of this stature who, like, does this and works with this, I was like, at first I was like, he found the clan. And he has, like, the clan captured. That's what I thought. And I was like, no, I don't think that's the case. And then when he was making the comments about the fact, is it so much better without the Empire? And you know what I thought? I was like, you know, you can say that because you were on the Empire side, but you didn't ask anybody else what they felt about it. And I guarantee you the same crap was still going on that's going on now, but it was just going on to people who were not a part of the Empire or who just said, you know what? We don't care who's in charge. We just want to be left alone. People ran around and killed each other. The Empire killed people all the time. If they didn't do what they wanted, they got killed. Even if they didn't want to be a part of the battle.
That's what governments do, Johnny.
We can argue this perspective all day long, but in reality, I was like, dude, you're talking out both sides of your mouth because you think the Empire was so great, but other people don't think it was that great. Just like people think the New Republic is great, other people don't think it's that great. That's all I'm going to say, but you're talking out both sides of your mouth. Get over yourself.
Which I will just continue to add to it in the Aftermath trilogy, and I want to say Alphabet Squadron. They mention their ramifications and what normal everyday people thought and felt about the Empire's removal of power and the New Republic's place in its absence. Very intriguing. Not everybody was for the Empire to be overthrown. Just saying.
Well, duh. There was people that weren't a fan of it being overthrown, and there was people that were a fan of it. There's the people that, like I said, it's the same thing I just said. There wasn't people who were fans of it. There's people who were fans of it.
Well, no, but I'm saying in those books, you get it flushed out more. You actually get to see families, people talking about it, and so forth. It makes it that argument that you're saying, and you get to see how it affected people firsthand. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Well, Chuck Wendig got fired by Disney too. He was paid by them, so he could write whatever he wanted, right?
They have to proofread it, John. Yeah. Moff Gideon, a beast. Obviously, we already talked about it. The Ugnaught goes down. He didn't make it.
You don't know that. We didn't think IG-11 made it, and he came back.
He's a droid. He's reprogrammable. He's not the gunslinger, John.
Baby Yoda
The
fixed him
gunslinger
before
ain't
he
coming
fell.
back. Krell ain't
I
coming back.
feel so. At first, when I saw Baby Yoda on the ground, I was like, "This is a tactic." He had another green bottle.
A green bottle?
Like he had something that looked like the child, and I was like, "This is all a tactic. This is a ploy." I feel it. And then I saw the comm on the ground, and I saw him. I was like, "No." And that's when I rated it a 1. I was done with it at that point. But the other thing that we talked about the Ugnaught, I don't want to talk about it no more.
You're all sad and shit.
Moff Gideon, his unwavering taunting. I will have the package or whatever he says soon. It will be mine. Like unwavering taunting of the Mandalorian, Cara Dune, and Carl Weathers' character. Like I'll have it soon. At this point, you're done. There's nothing else you can do. And I'm just like, and then it goes to series based on by Jon Favreau, Star Wars, blah, blah, blah. Like really, people.
It really was my favorite episode. It had everything you wanted, or everything I wanted, I should say. Yeah, that episode flew by quicker than any other that I've seen so far. Thought it was fantastic. Quick predictions for the next one. Will we see the rest of the Mandos come back? Or will it be self-contained IG-11, the Mandalorian?
No. I
and
don't
Cara
think
Dune?
I don't think it's contained to IG-11. I think we're going to see the Mandos come back. I do feel that IG-11 is going to do something. I just, yeah, I don't know. Like it's so hard to.
Let's not.
I have a feeling that Moff Gideon is going to get the child. If you want my honest opinion, I think he's going to get the child, and they're going to leave it on one of the biggest cliffhangers for season 1 because we don't have an announcement of season 2 yet.
Well, we already know it's been announced. Season 2's in the making.
But we don't know. It could be next year, like 2021.
But we know it's being made already.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying to be left on a cliff. Well, Game of Thrones.
I was going to say we waited 2 years for Game of Thrones. You just want a release date already in the chamber, ready to
give
go.
me a release date, and that way I just feel better. Even if you're like it's 2022, I don't think they would do that. But we know it's in the process, but it's going to be interesting. As much as people have taken to the Mandalorian, and we've talked about it, the fact that it may be the reuniting force of the fandom, like. It's a TV series. You know, we had Rebels, we had Clone Wars. People were upset when Clone Wars left, but you know, I don't remember how long you had to wait for seasons, but you had 23 episodes usually, or 22 episodes per season, 30 minutes each. Like this show, I think has been probably the biggest hit of the fandom or even of Star Wars. And so to leave it on that cliff note or that cliffhanger, I'm wondering how well it's going to be received that people have to wait so long.
I don't even want to do much predicting of what's going to happen. All we know is, like you said, Gideon's got the kid. You know, we've already had one casualty, one character that we care about. You know, the last time he said, "I have spoken," was when he told him, "We're taking the blurps. I have spoken."
And he didn't say it a whole lot. He only said it that time.
That was the only time I caught. Maybe I missed it, but that's the only time I caught. Yeah, way to go, Nick Nolte. You know, definitely pretty awesome performance, and great to add him to the list of characters that have been in Star Wars.
You're coming back. It's okay.
Yeah, the gunslinger too.
Average. So average based on 7 episodes. What do you think your average is right now?
I think my average is like about an 8.
Okay, what do you think mine is?
7.5? 7?
David's is a 7.7.
Ooh. Oh, because my gunslinger episode was pretty low. No, my last episode was low.
Yeah, and I'm a 7.5.
So I'm barely beating you. I'm beating you by 0.02.
Yeah, 2 basis points.
Dang. Dang. I'm gonna have to move mine around. This is my favorite episode.
You're at a 9.5.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying this is my favorite episode, hands down, in my rankings. Got anything else to add about this one, Johnny?
No, I'm still upset. Ask me in a couple of days. The one thing I will say off the Mandalorian topic, our listeners and viewers are getting a lot of the Balance of the Force of Star Wars podcast this week.
Oh, it's all over the place this week.
This is going to be episode number 3 this week. Plus, there's going to be another episode with the Rise of Skywalker, and then Dave potentially has another one slated later in the weekend. Guys, soak it up, because next week there's probably not going to be any.
No, we're gonna have plenty.
Oh, okay. Dave thinks we're going to have plenty. John's traveling quite a bit, so we'll see.
I'll bring Sweet Nelson on. We'll be all right.
So anyway, just enjoy the fact that we have these episodes, because it's time consuming to get all this stuff done, but we do it. So yeah, I was just thinking about that. I was like, God, Lee, we had 3 this week. We got another, potentially 2 more. It's like an episode every day.
We'll just drop one more, and that is going to be our first impressions Star Wars Rise of Skywalker conversation. And then we'll get the multiple viewing reaction for Monday's episode.
Anyway, guys, we thank you for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed the Mandalorian episode 7 recap review spoilers we talked about. I'll get off my high horse and I'll rate the episode as I truly feel once I breathe a little bit. If you guys have any comments, suggestions, information, anything that you thought about or want to talk about, like Dave brought up the fact that the kid didn't want to go back, so that's why he messed with the ship. If you thought the same thing, if you thought something different, let us know. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at SWPodBalance. We'd love to hear from you guys. And as always, may the Force be with you.
Once more, the Sith will rule the galaxy.